Have you ever met someone who changed everything in a single moment? Someone who held your hand and made you realize you weren't afraid of falling, you were afraid they would let go. This is the story of a flight I'll never forget. A night when grief brought me to my knees, when fear gripped my heart at 35,000 feet, and when a stranger with kind eyes and steady hands showed me what it means to truly be seen. They say some connections are born in the most unexpected places. I never believed that until her fingers intertwined with mine in the darkness of that plane, and something inside me clicked in a way that no amount of turbulence could have caused. This is a story about loss and finding, about letting go and holding on, about the moment when someone refuses to release your hand, even when the shaking stops and you realize the real journey is just beginning. If you believe in impossible connections, if you've ever felt your heart recognize someone before your mind could catch up, then this story is for you. I hate flying. I've always hated it. Ever since I was a child, my mother used to say it was because I needed control over everything. And up there, 10 kilometers above the ground, I controlled nothing. Maybe she was right. Maybe I just never trusted the world enough to throw myself like that, suspended in the air with no ground beneath my feet. But that night, I had no choice. The flight was leaving Seattle at 9:30 p.m. Destination, Boston. 6 hours that I would spend trying not to think about the funeral that awaited me on the other side. My father. 48 hours earlier, my phone rang in the middle of the night and my sister's voice was too broken for me not to understand from the first syllable. So there I was. Aisle 23, seat A, window. Because, apparently, I like to punish myself. The plane was packed. Families returning home. Tired executives. A woman 2 rows ahead cradling a softly crying baby. I put on my headphones but didn't play any music. I just needed something between me and the noise of the world. That's when she appeared. Her hair was pulled back in a perfectly styled bun. She wore a navy blue uniform with a red scarf around her neck. Her smile was professional but genuine. She walked down the aisle, checking the overhead compartments, adjusting bags, offering pillows. It wasn't the first time I'd seen a flight attendant, but it was the first time one had made me forget for 3 whole seconds that I was about to take off. She had that presence. It wasn't just her beauty, although she was undoubtedly beautiful. It was the way she moved, confident, calm, as if nothing could unsettle her, as if she had a control I never had. And then our eyes met. It was quick, half a second, but enough for me to feel something tighten in my chest. She smiled. Not specifically at me, just that automatic smile that flight attendants give everyone. But I felt like it was for me alone. Idiot. I looked away too quickly, feigning interest in the magazine on the seat in front of me. My heart was beating faster than it should. I didn't understand why. The plane began to move. The cabin lights dimmed. The pilot's voice echoed through the speakers. Something about takeoff in 5 minutes. Stable weather. Estimated arrival on time. Stable. I wanted to believe, but my fingers were already gripping the arms of the chair too tightly. My breathing was becoming short. I closed my eyes and tried to count. 1, 2, 3. The plane accelerated. The noise of the engines grew louder. My stomach dropped. And that's where it all began. The takeoff was smooth. I know it was. Technically, the plane climbed perfectly, tilted gently, found altitude. But for me, each second was an eternity of pure tension. My eyes closed, my breath held, my whole body frozen in anticipation of something going wrong. When I finally felt the plane level off, I slowly opened my eyes. The cabin was quiet. People talking quietly, taking out laptops, adjusting blankets. Normal. But my chest still tightened, my hand still trembled. That's when she reappeared, walking down the aisle with that irritating calm of someone who does this every day. She stopped beside a passenger 3 rows ahead, bent down, said something with a smile. The woman laughed, She touched her shoulder lightly before continuing on. Simple, natural. But I couldn't stop looking. There was something about her that made me uneasy. It wasn't attraction. Or at least I didn't want to call it that. It was something else. A silent unease. Like when you feel someone watching you, but when you turn around, there's no one there. She walked past my row. Our eyes met again, and this time she held on. It wasn't a flight attendant's glance, checking if I was okay. It was something else, something slower, more intentional, as if she had truly seen me. My stomach did a flip. "Are you okay?" she asked, stopping beside me. Her voice was soft, deep enough to be serious, but with a warm undertone. I nodded too quickly. Yes, that was a lie, obviously. My voice came out tense, my hands still gripping the armrest. She smiled. Not that professional smile from before. This one was different, smaller, almost conspiratorial. "You don't like to fly." It wasn't a question. I laughed awkwardly. "Is it that obvious?" "A little." She tilted her head slightly, her eyes still fixed on mine. "But it's okay. You're safe." The way she said safe struck me as odd because she didn't say it like someone repeating protocol. She said it like someone making a promise, and I believed it. "Thank you," I murmured, looking away because I couldn't hold her gaze any longer. She stood there for another second. I felt it. Even without looking, I felt her presence, her warmth nearby, the soft scent of perfume that I couldn't identify, but which was now etched in my memory. "If you need anything, just call." And then she left. But the weight of her voice remained. And for the first time since I got on that plane, I wasn't thinking about my father. I wasn't thinking about the funeral. I was thinking about her. And that scared me more than any turbulence. I tried to sleep. I reclined in the seat, closed my eyes, and put on some random playlist on my phone. Low music, instrumental, the kind of thing that's supposed to calm you down, but my body was on fire. It wasn't flight anxiety anymore, not anymore. It was her. I couldn't stop thinking about the way she had looked at me, the tone of her voice, the word safe echoing in my head, as if it had been spoken in a secret language that only I understood. "This is ridiculous," I thought. "You're tired. You're grieving. You're vulnerable. That's all." But my body wouldn't believe it. Because every time I heard footsteps in the aisle, my heart raced with the hope that it was her. And when it wasn't, I felt a silly, childish disappointment that I couldn't explain. I opened my eyes. The cabin was dark now. Most people were asleep. The reading lights were off. Just the bluish glow of the entertainment screens flickering here and there. Silence, the low hum of engines, forced peace. I shifted uncomfortably in the seat. My neck ached, my leg was numb. I needed to get up, stretch, go to the bathroom, anything. I got up slowly and stepped into the aisle. And she was there, leaning against the wall near the galley, holding a glass of water, staring blankly into space, as if lost in thought, vulnerable, different. She saw me, and she smiled. Not a professional smile, not a polite smile. That was real. "Can't sleep?" she asked softly, her voice like someone who hadn't spoken for hours. "Not much," I replied, walking toward her without thinking. "You?" She shrugged. "I never managed to during long flights. I'm on autopilot." Autopilot? I almost laughed at the irony. "It must be tiring," I ventured. "Yes." She took a sip of water, her eyes fixed on mine over the glass. "But it has its good moments." The way she said it, slowly, with a weight underneath, made my stomach churn. I didn't know what to answer, so I stood there, still, too close to her. Close enough to feel the warmth coming from her body, to hear her breathing, slow and controlled. "Why are you going to Boston?" she asked suddenly, breaking the silence. The question caught me off guard. "Funeral," I replied before thinking. Her expression changed. It softened. She became serious but not sentimental. I'm really sorry. Thanks. Silence again. But this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It was loaded. It was as if there was something unspoken hanging between us. Something neither of us dared to name. She took another sip of water. She looked away. And I realized at that exact second that she felt it, too. Whatever that was. I should have gone back to my seat. But I didn't go back. I stood there, leaning against the opposite wall, pretending I was just resting my legs. She didn't say anything. She didn't tell me to leave. She just stayed there too, with that glass of water in her hand, staring at some undefined point in the aisle. The silence between us was thick, but it wasn't bad. It was like being underwater. Everything was muffled. Everything was slower. Just the two of us breathing at the same pace. What was his name? She asked suddenly, her voice so low I could barely hear her. It took me a while to understand that she was talking about my father, Richard. She nodded slowly. Were you close? I laughed humorlessly. No. Actually, we hardly spoke to each other. I don't know why I said that. I don't usually open up like that, especially not to strangers. But there was something about her that disarmed me, as if she already knew things before I even spoke. So why are you going? She asked, without judgment, just genuine curiosity. Because I hesitated. Because I need to, even if I don't really know why. She looked at me, really looked at me this time. And I felt like she had read everything I hadn't said. Sometimes we go for others, she murmured. Sometimes we go for ourselves, to close a deal. And you? I asked, turning the tables. Do you close things or leave them open? She smiled, but it was a sad smile. It depends on what it is. The response struck me in a strange way because I felt she wasn't talking about things. She was talking about people. Before I could ask any more questions, the plane shook. It was slight, just a jolt, but my whole body froze. My hand instinctively gripped the wall. My chest tightened. My breath caught in my throat. Hey, her voice came out firm but soft. And then I felt it, her hand in mine. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't professional. She held my hand firmly, warmly, intentionally. Breathe, she said softly, her eyes fixed on mine. Just slight turbulence. It will pass. I tried. I took a deep breath, trembling. The plane shook again, and her hand tightened its grip. I'm not going to let go, she whispered. And something inside me broke because I knew she wasn't just talking about the flight. The plane stabilized, but she didn't let go of my hand. And I didn't ask her to let go. We stood there in the middle of the dark aisle, our fingers intertwined, and nothing else mattered. Time stood still. I swear it stopped. Because there, in that narrow corridor, with her hand holding mine, everything disappeared. The plane, the people, the noise, the fear. All that remained was the warmth of her fingers against mine, and the way my heart was beating so hard I was sure she could hear it. I should have let go, but I couldn't. She didn't either. We stood there, frozen, looking at each other as if we were waiting for someone to say something, anything. But neither of us spoke because talking would break it and none of us wanted to. I saw her breathing change. It quickened slightly. Her eyes drifted down to our intertwined hands, then back to mine. There was something there, something she was trying to hide, but it was seeping out. Fear, not of the plane, of something else. She began, but her voice cracked. She let go of my hand and the cold that took hold of me was instantaneous. Violent. I'm sorry, she said quickly, pulling her hand away as if she'd burned herself. I shouldn't have. No, the word came out before I could think. Firm, almost desperate. Don't apologize. She looked at me, confused, vulnerable. You were scared, she tried to explain, her voice trembling slightly. I just wanted to help. Lie. We both knew. I took a step forward, small but significant. Thank you, I said softly. For holding it. She swallowed hard. I saw her throat move. You're welcome. Her voice was hoarse now, heavy. I wanted to say more. I wanted to ask her name. I wanted to know if she felt the same way, if her chest tightened in the same way, if she thought about me when she went back to work. But before I could, a voice called from the end of the aisle. Maya. She turned around quickly. Another, older flight attendant was looking at her with a tired expression. Can you cover the front section? Jenny isn't feeling well. Maya. Finally, a name. She looked at me one last time, and in that look, I saw everything. The struggle, the desire, the impossibility. Excuse me, she murmured. And she left. I stood there, frozen in the middle of the aisle, with the ghost of her hand still burning in mine. And for the first time in years, I felt something other than emptiness. I felt alive, dangerously alive. I went back to my seat, but I wasn't there anymore. Not really. My body was seated, seatbelt fastened, hands crossed in my lap. But my mind was in that aisle, on her fingers, on the way she had held them as if it were the most natural thing in the world, and the way she let go, as if it were forbidden. I closed my eyes and tried to push it all away. I tried to convince myself that it had been nothing, just politeness, just protocol disguised as empathy. But my body didn't believe in lies. I could still feel the heat. 2 hours passed, maybe 3. I lost track of time. The plane continued cutting through the night sky, lights flashing on its wings, invisible stars outside. Some people woke up, others asked for water. The in-flight service resumed. And then I saw her, Maya. She was back in the aisle, pushing the drinks cart, professional, smiling as if nothing had happened. But when she passed by my row, our eyes met, and she froze. It was only half a second, imperceptible to anyone else. But I saw it. She quickly looked away. She kept walking. She served juice to someone 3 rows ahead. She laughed at some joke a passenger made. But the tension was there. I could feel it. She came back. She stopped beside me. Would you like something to drink? Her voice was controlled, neutral, but her eyes were screaming at me. Water, I said, trying to sound normal. She picked up a glass. She handed it to me. Our fingers touched. It was like an electric shock. She felt it, too. I saw it in the way she pulled her hand away too quickly. Thank you, I murmured. She nodded. She said nothing. She stood there. For too long, the cart forgotten behind her. Maya. Someone called from the back. She blinked. She snapped back to reality. I'm sorry, she said to me. Or to herself, I couldn't tell. And she left again. But this time I saw it. Her hand was trembling. I drank the water slowly, but it didn't quench my thirst because what I wanted wasn't in that glass. It was in her. And that terrified me because I had never felt this before. I had never looked at someone and felt that everything inside me was crumbling and rebuilding itself at the same time. I didn't know what that was called, but I knew I wouldn't be able to forget, even if I wanted to. And the worst part? I didn't want to. The plane began its descent. The pilot's voice echoed through the loudspeakers. Something about final approach, the temperature in Boston. Thanks for choosing us. Empty words that I barely registered, because all I could think was, this is going to end. In 20 minutes, I would disembark. I would go on with my life. I was going to the funeral. I was going to pretend that none of this had happened. And she was going to keep flying to another place with other people, holding other hands. The idea overwhelmed me. I couldn't leave it like that. I had to say something. But what? Thank you for holding my hand. Ridiculous. Did you feel that too? Scary. Give me your number. Desperate. Nothing seemed right, so I just stood there, speechless, while the plane descended further and further. The cabin lights came on. People started moving around, grabbing bags, checking their cell phones. The routine of landing, normal life returning. And then she appeared again. But this time she wasn't smiling. She walked slowly past my row, checking seatbelts, adjusting seats. When she reached me, she stopped. "Everything all right?" she asked. Her voice was low, heavy with emotion. "Yes," I lied. She looked at me and I saw she was struggling too. She began. My heart raced. She was going to say it. She was going to speak. I could feel it. I hoped. Her voice faltered. She took a deep breath. She tried again. "I hope everything goes well with the funeral. With everything." No, that wasn't it. That's not what she meant. "Maya," I called out without thinking. She froze. "You." I tried, but my voice failed me too. Tell me now. Before it's too late." But before I could, someone shouted from behind. "Maya, I need you here." She closed her eyes, frustrated, defeated. "I have to go." "I know." She stared at me for another second, as if she were memorizing my face. And then she bent down. Very close. Too close. I smelled her perfume. I felt her warmth. "If I ask you for something," she whispered, her voice trembling, "will you give it to me?" I could barely breathe. "Yes." She took a napkin from her uniform pocket and a pen. She wrote something fast and placed it in my hand. "Don't open it now," she pleaded, her eyes shining. "Later." And before I could answer, she stood up, and she left. My hand gripped the napkin. The plane touched down, and I didn't know if I was relieved or completely destroyed. I waited. I disembarked with everyone else, dragging my suitcase, following the flow of tired people down the cold airport corridor. Harsh lights, the smell of reheated coffee, repetitive announcements on the loudspeakers. Everything mechanical. Everything empty. I clutched the napkin in my coat pocket as if it were the only real thing I had. "Don't open it now," she had said. But I needed to. I went into the bathroom. I locked the door of a stall. I sat on the toilet seat. My hands were trembling. I opened the napkin. "I shouldn't have held your hand, but I needed to. I'm sorry if that confused you. I'm sorry if I confused myself." And below, a phone number. No name, no promises. Just that. I read it again and again. The numbers burning into my memory even as my vision blurred with tears. "I'm sorry if that confused you." As if I were confused. As if what I felt was just a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. I knew. She knew. And yet she had written sorry as if that were a mistake. Something wrong. Something that needed to be erased. I closed my eyes. The number was already etched in my mind. Anger came before sadness because she had given me hope. She had looked at me that way. She had held my hand as if it were the most important thing in the world, and then she apologized for it. I crumpled the napkin. I threw it in the trash. I left the bathroom and I tried to move on. But every step hurt because I knew I would keep thinking about that number, that sorry, that hand that held mine and then let go as if it should never have touched. And the worst part? I still wanted to call, even knowing that she wasn't going to answer. Even knowing that it wouldn't lead to anything. I took an Uber straight to the hotel. The city passed by the window. Blurry, unreal. Buildings, bridges, lights. Nothing mattered. The driver tried to start a conversation. I pretended not to hear. I arrived at the room. I threw my suitcase on the floor. I sat on the edge of the bed. And that's when I broke down. Because I had lost my father and I had lost her. 2 losses in less than 24 hours. And I didn't know which one hurt more. I lay on my side. I looked at the ceiling. And for the first time in years, I wished someone had been there. Someone who understood. Someone to hold my hand. And wouldn't let go. But there was nobody there. Only emptiness. And the echo of a voice that said, "I'm not going to let go." But she had let go. And I was alone again. The funeral was exactly as I expected. Cold, formal, full of people who didn't really know my father. People in black suits saying empty things. He was a great man. He will be missed. My condolences, polite lies. I stayed in the corner, quiet, waving when needed, smiling when expected. But inside, I was somewhere else. I was on that plane, in that aisle, with her. My sister tried to talk to me after the ceremony. She asked if I was okay. I said yes. She didn't believe me. But she didn't insist. Nobody insisted on talking to me. I've always been good at looking whole. I went back to the hotel. I ordered food that I didn't eat. I turned on the TV without watching it. I took a shower that didn't relax me. And then I did the most pathetic thing possible. I went back to that airport bathroom. Mentally, I remembered the napkin, the number. I grabbed my cell phone. I typed it. I deleted it. I typed it again. I froze. What was I going to say? Hi, it's me, the desperate passenger whose hand you held. Did you feel it too? Or was it just me? Ridiculous. But my finger hovered over the call button, and for the first time, I understood what true despair was. It wasn't about her being special. It was about her making me feel something, anything. At a time when I was completely dead inside, she had reminded me that I still existed. And now that she was gone, the emptiness returned. Worse, deeper. Because now I knew what it was like not to be empty, and that made the emptiness unbearable. I didn't call. I threw my cell phone on the bed. I sat on the floor, and I cried. Not because of my father, not because of the funeral, because of her. Because of the hand she held, because of the way she had looked at me, because of the sorry she wrote, as if that were wrong, as if what we felt was something to regret. But I didn't regret it. I wanted more. I wanted to know her middle name, her favorite song, the first thing she thought about when she woke up, the way she drank her coffee. I wanted to know if she was also lying in some room in some city thinking about me, or was I just another passenger, another story she used to tell her colleagues. There was a girl who was afraid of flying. I held her hand. It was strange, just that, while for me it had been everything. And that disproportion was killing me, because I would never know unless I called, and I couldn't. Because what if she didn't answer? What if she answered and said it was just a polite gesture? I wasn't going to survive. So I stayed there on the ground, alone, holding a cell phone that had the answer. And I didn't have the courage to ask. 3 days later, I returned to Seattle. Same flight, same company. I didn't plan it. It was just a coincidence, or destiny. I didn't believe in destiny. But at that moment, sitting at the boarding gate, watching the plane park on the other side of the glass, I wanted to believe. Because if it was destiny, it meant it was right. It meant that it wasn't just me. I boarded. I found my seat. Window again, because apparently I never learn. I put on my seatbelt. I took a deep breath. And I waited. I waited for her to appear. Every time someone walked down the aisle, my heart raced. Every navy blue uniform made me look. Every female voice made me hold my breath, but it wasn't her. It never was. An older flight attendant made the safety announcement. Another passed by offering headphones. A male flight attendant checked the overhead compartments, but Maya wasn't there. And the disappointment was so intense that I almost got up and left. The plane took off. I closed my eyes and tried not to cry. Why did it make any difference? She had given me her number and I hadn't called. She had given me a chance and I had wasted it. 2 hours of flight. Silence, darkness, emptiness. I fell asleep unintentionally, and when I woke up, someone was sitting next to me. I turned around, still dizzy, and I froze. Maya, she was there, sitting in the aisle seat. No uniform, casual clothes, hair down, deep dark circles under her eyes. and looking at me as if she had waited for me to wake up. "Hi," she said softly. My voice cracked. "Hey!" Silence. My heart was beating so loudly that I was sure she could hear it. "You aren't working?" I managed to ask. She shook her head. "Time off." "And you're here?" "I'm here." She looked away. She fidgeted with her hands, nervous. "I saw your name on the passenger list," she confessed, her voice trembling. I shouldn't have looked, but I did." My chest tightened. "And you got on the flight?" I murmured, still in disbelief. "I switched shifts. I paid someone to cover. I bought this ticket at the last minute." She finally looked at me, and her eyes were full of tears. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you." The world stopped. "Maya, you didn't call," she interrupted, her voice breaking. "I gave you my number and you didn't call." "You apologized," I said, my voice breaking as well, as if it had been wrong. "Because I thought it was," she whispered. "And now?" She held my hand again, stronger this time. "Now I know that's not true." I couldn't breathe properly because she was there, really there, holding my hand as if it were the most natural thing in the world. And perhaps it was. "I didn't call because I was afraid." I confessed, my voice breaking. "Afraid you'd say it was just a polite gesture, that I misinterpreted it." "You didn't misinterpret it," she said so firmly, so absolutely that I believed. "Then why did you apologize?" I asked, the pain still fresh. "Why did you write that as if it were a mistake?" Maya closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. "Because I've spent my whole life doing the right thing," she began slowly. "Following rules, being professional, keeping my distance, not getting involved." She opened her eyes. She looked at me. "And then you got on that plane." She squeezed my hand. "And I held your hand, and for the first time I couldn't let go." Tears streamed down my face. "And I was scared," she continued, her voice trembling. "Scared of what it meant, scared of feeling something I shouldn't, scared of ruining everything. So I wrote that note. I apologized as if that would make everything go back to normal. But it didn't go back," I murmured. "No." She smiled sadly. "Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. The way you looked at me, the way your hand trembled in mine, the way you saw me." She squeezed my hand tighter. "No one has ever seen me like that before." I couldn't speak. I could only feel her. There, real. "When I saw your name on that list," she whispered, I knew that if I didn't get on that plane, I would regret it for the rest of my life." "Maya." "I know it's crazy," she interrupted, laughing nervously. "I know we barely know each other. I know it doesn't make sense, but—" "It does," I said. "For me, it does." She looked at me as if I had said the most important thing in the world. And maybe I had. "Give me a chance," she pleaded, her voice almost a whisper. "Let me try. Let me really get to know you. Out of this plane, out of this madness." I didn't think. I only felt. "Yes." And then she smiled. And it was the most beautiful smile I've ever seen, because it wasn't professional. It wasn't polite. It was real. It was hers. For me. The plane landed in Seattle in light rain. But inside, in that cramped seat, with her hand still in mine, the world felt warm. People started to get up, grab their bags, turn on their cell phones, go back to their lives. But we stayed. Just one more minute, just one more second. "I don't want this to end," I confessed, my voice so low it was almost inaudible. "Then don't let it," she replied, smiling. "We've only just begun." She was right. That wasn't the end, it was the beginning. We went down together. We walked side by side down the airport corridor. She was carrying a small backpack. I was carrying my wheeled suitcase. Two strangers, but not anymore. "Coffee?" she asked as we approached the exit. "Coffee," I confirmed. And it was that simple. The two of us, sitting in some airport cafeteria, ordering reheated cappuccino, sharing a stale croissant. And we talked, in truth, about everything, about nothing, about her life, mine, the fears, the dreams, the things we carried with us and never told anyone. And the more she spoke, the more I understood that what I had felt on the plane was no coincidence. It was recognition. It was as if my soul had seen hers and said, "Ah, it's you." Hours passed. Coffees grew cold. People came and went, but we stayed. And when we finally got up, when we finally left that airport, I didn't feel afraid. I felt hope, because she gave me her number again. But this time, not on a napkin. This time, she took my cell phone. She typed. She called. And when her phone rang, she smiled. "Now you have no excuse not to call." "I don't have one," I said, smiling as well. She leaned forward slowly, and she kissed me on the cheek, very close to the mouth, close enough for me to feel her breath, close enough to leave me wanting more. "Call me," she whispered. "I will." And I called. That same night and the following night and every night after that, because some connections are born 35,000 feet above the ground, and even after landing, they don't disappear. They just keep getting stronger. Because Maya didn't just hold my hand on that flight. She held something bigger, something I didn't even know was falling until she caught me, and refused to let go. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in connections that defy logic and love that finds you in the most unexpected places, then I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Because Maya and I, our story didn't end in that airport cafeteria. What happened next, the challenges we faced, the choices we had to make, the moment everything almost fell apart, that's a story you need to hear. And I promise you, it will leave you breathless. Leave a comment below telling me, have you ever met someone who changed everything in a single moment? Where are you watching this from? I want to know how far this story reaches, how many hearts it touches. Because love stories like this, real, raw, unexpected, they remind us that sometimes the most beautiful things in life happen when we're least prepared for them. Don't let go. Just like Maya didn't let go of my hand. This is just the beginning.